Hey, I'm Paeter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions, here with my uncut review of Appendage on Hulu Plus. The synopsis on IMDb, or at least one of them, reads, "A young fashion designer seems fine on the surface, but secretly struggles with debilitating, I said that right, yeah? Debilitating self-doubt. Soon these buried feelings begin to make Hannah physically sick and sprout into a ferocious growth on her body, the appendage. As Hannah's health declines, the appendage grows more powerful and begins to fuel her anxieties. Her perceived lack of talent at work, her deteriorating relationships with her boyfriend and best friend, and her parents' lack of love and understanding. At her breaking point, Hannah makes a shocking discovery. There are others out there like her." All right, so what is this basic vibe? It's labeled as horror and comedy both, but I think some people might find it funny. Tonally, I would compare it to an episode of a horror anthology series like The Outer Limits. I think it even could have been a script for that kind of series if it was trimmed back into a single episode. It just kind of has this weirdness to it that is creepy and just bizarre, but it's not necessarily scary. It's a strong theme, really, that's being given literal embodiment here. That's part of why it feels like one of those anthology shows episodes. The appendage is the dark and self-destructive side of Hannah, brought to life. I mean, it's not literally that in the lore of the story. They give a slightly different explanation, but I mean, it's clearly representing that in this grossly embodied form, brought to life through these increasing moments of body horror that escalate actually into something else entirely. It kind of becomes a little bit of a different kind of movie for a while toward the end. So I appreciate just kind of its evolution in that sense in terms of what type of movie it was. The tension really comes from Hannah's relationships and her work stresses. Her boss is arrogant and belittles her. Her friends don't listen well. Even though they do care about her, they don't really know how to listen well and perceive what's going on and then actually kind of like interact with her in an effective way about that. Her mother is too self-interested to care, and her father is just kind of absent or passive. The internal anxiety that she feels also manifests in self-harm, but not like in the form of cutting or I guess more common clinical examples, but fidgeting to the point of breaking skin, or pricking her finger while sewing. And those moments, I mean, like when she is like picking at her fingernail, I was just, oh man, I was tense the whole time. There's certain things that the camera will do, close-ups that are just a little bit too close, you know. Not overly so, but just a little too close. Is just the way this thing was shot and the different elements in the storytelling, visually what's going on, how they convey tension, really connected with me really pretty well. It's not a scary movie, I don't think, but more tense and cringe-inducing. Not cringy in like an embarrassing, this is cheesy kind of way, but like literally, oh my gosh, this is making me uncomfortable, cringing kind of way. It also has, as I alluded to briefly, a couple unexpected turns, taking the movie in a different direction than I expected, and revealing things about characters that I wouldn't have guessed. So I appreciated those surprises. Although it's not really my type of horror movie, I really prefer the actual full-on scary horror movie. I was interested in this one from start to finish. As far as the cast and performances, Hannah, played by, what's the actress's name? Hadley Robinson, I thought did a great job, and her supporting cast, all solid. I liked who I was supposed to like, hated who I was supposed to hate. Hannah's vulnerability was brought out well by Hadley Robinson, even as it switched at times to some slightly cartoonish villain performance moments. I felt like it fit, and I was willing to accept that and just kind of go along with it. As far as stunts and visuals, the appendage, the creature is, I think, 100% practical, which means some stiff articulations here and there. That's the trade-off with CG, but even with CG, I think motion capture can really fail us in that department too. So when you go all practical, yes, you have some stiff articulations, but it also means 100% believability that this creature is truly and ickily present with the characters. And that's always my preference, even with some of the stiffness that animatronics or puppeteering can bring. There were some brief isolated CG effects, but they were the exception. And practical effects are pretty crucial for me to connect with and cringe at body horror. I have no complaints about the execution here. As far as relevance, as themes, is there anything of moral, philosophical, or spiritual significance in the themes of this thing that might trigger some worthwhile thought or conversation, contemplation? Yes, yes, yes. Hannah is experiencing feelings that others don't understand, making her feel isolated and depressed. Oftentimes, we can find comfort in connecting with others who are going through something similar, feeling things that are similar to what we are feeling. But I think a surprising message in this movie is that it is not always healthy to look for help from those who are experiencing and feeling the same things we are. In fact, that can start out feeling good and right, but take us down a dark path that isolates us from those who love us most and want to care for us. Sometimes what we actually need is to talk to those who do not have the same feelings and struggles we do, but who can still be good and compassionate listeners who will support us. Who will support us, I should emphasize, even if they cannot support all of our choices, some of which may be self-destructive in ways we don't realize. I see valuable parallels here for Christians dealing with depression, same-sex attraction or gender dysphoria, or various addictions, all kinds of different kinds of scenarios. I can see this being a valuable comparison. The solution may not be to surround ourselves with people in the same situation. That might actually make things worse in the long run. However, this story can, and I think should, as much as it is, a parallel to those who are maybe, and maybe a message to those who are dealing with feelings that others don't understand. I think also those of us who are not experiencing those kinds of struggles that other people that are unusual or different to those that are around us, I think those of us in that situation should watch this movie and see in it a wake-up call to have patience and compassion for those who are dealing with unusual feelings and struggles. It can and should be a wake-up call for us to give time and energy to those who go out on a limb and share their struggles with us, not assuming that we understand the reasons for their struggles, and, with the ability to listen a lot more than we talk, and to care without offering overly simplistic statements or solutions. There is a lot, I think, that this movie could lead us to contemplate that would be very worthwhile for us as Christians. And so I greatly appreciate it on that level. I have no idea what your tastes are in movies, but if I were a time traveler, I'd go back in time and say, Paeter, watch this one for sure sometime when you have Hulu for something else that you really want to watch. This is not a reason to get Hulu for a month. It's a good yet somewhat forgettable horror experience, but its handling of its themes and its interesting story and the turns that it takes, all those things I think may have some significant value for you. This one is rated TVMA for language, violence, and sexuality. And those are all of my thoughts for now on Appendage. As always, I'd love to get your thoughts and reactions in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe, click that bell to stay connected, to help other people find this content. Always really, really appreciate your engagement on that level. I also want to thank the Spirit Blade Insiders for making this review possible. You can get info about the benefits of joining over at patreon.com/Spirit Blade Productions, where very soon this month I'll be sharing why it's a great month for horror fans to jump on at the $1 tier. So stay tuned for more about that. Then also, I hope you'll check out our podcast and stay connected to all CGC content over at christiangeekcentral.com as we continue to geek out and seek the truth. It is time again for Christian Geek Central's annual Game Save event, fundraising for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, which provides free treatment for children facing life or death circumstances and shares its cutting-edge, life-saving research with hospitals all over the world. And once again this year, I'm drawing attention to our team's fundraising by performing a 24-hour marathon of video gaming that I will live stream on youtube.com/ChristianGeekCentral beginning 6 a.m. Pacific time on Saturday, November 4th. You can donate or get get more info by clicking on my fundraising page in the links below, where you'll also find incentives and rewards for doing so. On top of that, I've set fundraising milestones that will unlock strange and unusual happenings as I reach them. Finally, if I reach my $500 goal by the end of Thursday, October 19th, I will do a 4-hour Get Good live stream before the end of the year, playing only the most frustrating, difficult games in my collection. Now, there are some stipulations and time limits on those rewards and milestones, so quickly follow the link below to my fundraising page for all the details. Believe it or not, this makes the 10th consecutive year of Christian Geek Central raising funds for kids in great need of medical care. I hope you'll be a part of helping me and the Christian Geek Central Game Save team do some good for some kids who really need it. And then please join me at youtube.com/Christian Geek Central for my 24-hour marathon starting at 6 a.m. Pacific on Saturday, November 4th. Hope to see you there.